Fellow on the fellow on the fellow. Fellow on the fellow on the fellow.
I don't Yeah, the real shop talk. Just come and take a listen. Some grown men with unbiased and honest opinions, and with no agendas, so you just gotta check it. Talking love and life from a male perspective. We keep it authentic, real, no filter. Leave a comment, be part of the show. We here to give you 5 gentlemen's views about manhood, no doubt. This the show you've been needing, yeah, it's the real shop talk. Let's go. Hey.
Sorry about that. A little 2021 humor. If you know, you know. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Tony Massey. Welcome back to the Real Shop Talk. It is 2022. Happy New Year! Happy New Year to all of our faithful audience, all of our faithful listeners, viewers, watchers, and those who are sharing the Real Shop Talk. So before we get started, that's what I want you to do right now. If you're watching, then someone you know probably should be watching this too. So go ahead and hit the like and then hit that share button. Bring, like my man Derek said, don't bring one, bring 5 people to the table, because tonight is going to be an amazing show. We are going to kick the show off with a new vision, a new mission, a new year. This is going to be incredible. I really believe that you're going to walk away with something of value after this show. As you can see, we're all here. Our man Tony Watts out there is doing God's work. We know he's out there hustling. So I know he's here in spirit, and he'll probably just pop in on us, because that's how Tony Watts does. Especially if we say something that you know that's controversial, that he needs to add a statistic or something like that too, because that's how he rolls. So as I said, my name is Tony Massey. You can find me, Tony Massey Cooks, Tony Massey Speaks, and then, of course, Tony Massey Shoots. My favorite place for you to find me is right here, 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday night. I'm going to pass it over to my man, D. Jones.
Hey, everybody. And again, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I know a lot of times we say this whole New Year, New Me thing, but I'm actually really excited right now. Like I'm happy that y'all who have been here, you know, in 2021, rocking with us, man, and y'all are still here. And like just to piggyback off of what Tony Massey said, man, bring a friend, bring you know, some men in your life, women in your life, people that you know just need to hear a different a different message. So my name is Derek Jones, and I am the host of the Relationship Gumbo podcast every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And I'm a certified life and relationship coach. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it down to my man Gunter Man.
Hey, what's up? What's up, guys? Happy New Year. We are here building community. Hope that you guys really grab a couple people, bring them in, because I think what we're sharing really matters. It's having an impact. It has already caused ripple effects to 2021. Now we're trying to have a boom, an explosion in 2022. So I am also a life coach, relationship life coach. I am the host of the Gunter Man Show every Thursday night at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on Instagram Live. You can see the name right there. Just check it. At this time, I pass you on over to my man, John Singletary. What up, bro?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are hippopotamus happy, elephant elated, and giraffe glad to see y'all back here for this new year. Y'all are just awesome and amazing. I'm John Singletary. You can find me at John M. Singletary or at Help Myself Podcast or www.thehelpmyselfpodcast. But my favorite place for you to hit me up is realshoptalk.net. If you check out the Facebook and the Instagram, man, we keep it popping. So, man, I'm ready to get in this show, man. We're gonna get into it. So I'm excited. So let's go.
All right, let's do this. So I had the idea for this show because one of our viewers, Queen Cole, you guys remember Queen Cole? She reached out to me and told me that she needed a photographer. And as you know, photography is one of the things that I've been ventured into with my Tony Massey Shoots profile on Instagram. And it was amazing. The way she laid it out for me, she said her son was graduating from college and he was going to be celebrating over 3 days, which I thought was cool. But one of those days, he invited his friends over to do a vision board party. Now, what I expected was family, friends, just a whole, a bunch of both men and women. But when I got there, that's not what I got. I'm going to show you some pictures that I took of the event real quick. This is what I got when I got there. These brothers right here down in the lower left-hand corner, I think one or two are missing. But as you can see them sitting up at the table, and then there's a picture of me capturing them, cutting out some of the images from magazines. Here's the cool thing. These cats were probably in their early 20s, maybe even some teens. They had all gone to school together. They grew up together, most of them. And the young man whose birthday, Queen Cole's son, he did a vision board the year before. And he brought his vision board with him, and he basically talked through how all of the things that he envisioned for the year, how they came to fruition. And he was so excited about how this happened that he wanted to share it with his friends. Now, these are football players. You know what I mean? These are, these are some, they smooth. Don't get me wrong, but they're men's men. They're guys. You know what I mean? But the way she conducted it was so cool because she first started with asking them questions about what they, how they envisioned their lives turning out over the next year and things of that nature. And she had them write the answers on these little index cards. And then she had them glue the index cards to the back of their vision board and then go through the magazines and find images and words that matched the words they wrote on the back. And what I loved about this was, I've done a vision board before and I've just done the front, but I've never taken the time to really think about what is it that I want to manifest this next year. And what I love about the way she did it was these were their words. So when you talk about accountability, they're being held accountable to the things that they said that they wanted written in their own handwriting. And I just thought this was the coolest thing in the world because here you have 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old young men who are being intentional for what they want and what they don't want for the year to come. And so because it was so inspirational, I was like, we got to bring this to the Shop Talk, platform, because I think that starting the new year intentional is a message that we need to definitely put out there, especially because there are so many people who are investing so much time, so much energy, and so much resources into spreading negativity in the form of positivity. And what I mean by that is that people are they're telling you about the bad. They're telling you about what to watch out for. They're telling you about what the negative. They're telling you about how to avoid this and how to avoid that. But no one's taking the time to ask the very simple question, what do you want? What is it that you want? How do you want your life to shape out? What kind of love are you looking for? What kind of job are you looking for? What kind of, what is it that you want? And to me, when I think of a vision board or a mission statement, it's when an organization or an individual lays out in very detail exactly what they want. What do you guys think?
I think that people, for your best results, you need to be clear. You need to be clear on what each day ahead will look like. And if you just leave it up to whatever happens in the day is what you're going to handle, life will handle you instead of you handling life. So whereas that mindset, instead of life happening for you, it's just happening to you. So you should be intentional, really intentional. And it takes work. It takes work because in order for you to be intentional, that means you got to become now really clear on the specifics you're trying to do at specific times, time you wake up, things you're doing. And now what can you and cannot do because you are going to be intentional comes into play also. And also now leads to communication, especially when there's people in your lives that are used to you doing a particular thing a particular way, or kind of, as I say, willy-nilly. No, now you're being intentional. It's the beginning of the new year. You're trying to live with purpose. Every day is living with purpose. So you got to start to communicate those things and be intentional. Every day you have to have planned out, what am I trying to accomplish in the day?
I love that. And shout out Queen Cole. She's in the audience. Again, thank you so much for letting me be a part of that and providing the inspiration for today. Go ahead, fellas. What else you got?
I'll jump in. This is something that I like when we're talking about a mission, we're talking about just trying to plot the course. This has been a problem for me probably like forever. Like I'm super procrastinator. I'm the super, I'm a write it down on day 1, and then on day 5, I'm gonna forget the whole list. So I think when you set intentions, especially when we're in the era now where we have cell phones and these type, like I'm the dude that you really like. I gotta set like calendar alarms and to-do lists and all of that. If I don't do that, and so my point is that we spent a lifetime, for a lot of us, knowing where those flaws are, and now that we're aware of them, then we have to put some things in place to make sure that we stay on task so that we can plot the course. And like I said earlier today when we were live on Instagram, you got to plot out the small pieces to get you to the big goal. And I think that's where a lot of us fail, is we'll say, I want to start a business this year. And then that's it. That's like the one line item, but you don't really plot the steps for you to get there. And then it just blows up. And then next year you be like, yeah, I'm gonna start my business this year. And then the next year passes, you be like, well, I don't know if I'm gonna do. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. But you never plot out the steps. You're never gonna do it. You got to do it. You got to do it in chunks. So I'm a land there.
And I'm gonna go with the very eloquent what they said.
Well, let me ask this then, John. Let me throw this out to the group. Derek, you brought up a really good point about using tools, right? With all of the tools that we have at our disposal today, with all of the productivity, I mean, everyone has a productivity tool. I mean, there's millions of apps that you can download on your phone that will help you with, productivity, time management, resource management, things like that. What would you guys say are the reasons, some of the top reasons that people set goals for the new year and then don't reach them? What are some of the reasons that people fall short, in your opinion?
They focus on the wall instead of focusing on the brick. They want to build something and they spend too much time looking at the wall instead of looking at the brick. If you were to focus your energy placing the brick as perfect as you can, and focus just on that and that alone, and then you turn to the next brick and you work on placing that next brick perfectly right, set, right height, and you'll find after a while of placing those bricks, focusing on just the bricks, that wall will be built. And not only will it be built, it'll be built off of all your little hard detail works, because that's the part that we tend to not feel energized about, because we're not doing the little things. It's not building up those little strong muscle fibers in you, like the little, like when a person feels that I can do, you're going to keep doing it. But when you feel like it's too big, it's too overwhelming, it's the wall, it's a forest. No, just focus on the tree, one tree. Focus on the brick. That's it. Just take care of that one thing, and you'll find that the wall will take care of itself. One brick at a time. And we lose energy because the little fine details that it takes just to place that one brick gets lost, because you want to build the wall. You're not thinking about it, and you're not actually doing it. And not until you start to do it do you actually realize that I could do it. I can actually build it. That gets you hyper, that gets you filled with energy, to get you something to talk about. The conversation changes, and then it goes from there. You look at the wall, you'll never build it.
I'm going to let John go before me.
Oh, wow, you got something super special to say? Basically the same thing the Gunner Man said, slightly different perspective, but I think one of the things that makes people fall off from goals, resolutions, plans, whatever that might be, is, one of the things that we don't recognize is that the brain doesn't have the ability to, well, not the ability. It's not looking for nuance, and it's not looking for negative, feeding it the like if I say don't do something, and then you say that to a kid and they do it anyway because they heard the command, they weren't worried about the modifier. And so a lot of times, well, this year I just don't want to mess up. Well, now your mind is focused on messing up. Simon Sinek told a great story about how skiers, when they're skiing down the hill, how they're able to avoid trees. They avoid the trees by focusing on the open spaces and not the trees. Because if you focus on the tree, your mind is going to take you into the tree. But if you focus on the open spaces, so a lot of times we're not focusing on the goal per se, but the obstacles that are in the way of getting to the goal. And we make those obstacles, we make distractions, all of that bigger than the actual goal. But when we make the goal the main thing, all the rest of that, it's an obstacle. It might just be, a nuisance in the way, but we're focused on getting where we're going. And then secondarily, something that I always say is that sometimes we throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, if your goal is to get healthy and you miss going to the gym 2 or 3 times, that don't mean you just throw it away. Get back on and continue. Don't condition yourself to say I failed just because I didn't do something a couple of times. And I could talk on and on, but Derek got that nod going, so I want to hear what he got to say. So
I'm gonna tell y'all one thing. I'm gonna do like a tangent for literally 2 seconds. Yo, if these ain't my brothers, I don't know who are, man. We be rocking up here, man. I don't know if y'all can feel this energy, man, but I'm loving it. I do want to do a slight piggyback off of John too, because, and this is also something that I noticed also in just being a relationship coach too. A lot of us aren't what I call future thinkers. We don't think about what we potentially need to do in the future. So like in a relationship space, I always say, you're not on the date qualifying this guy to potentially be your husband. You're qualifying him to feel what feels good today. And so a lot of times, even when we're talking about, people making New Year's resolutions or missions, people like to John's point, a lot of people are living in survival mode. So they're just trying to get to the next day. So if their goal is something that should be attained in 8 months, 6 months, they're never really going to have the focus to get there, because the daily routines and the kids and all of that stuff, it's going to start to become a valid excuse for you because something's always going to happen. And the next thing you know, that resolution list or that mission is going to go by the wayside really fast because stuff is going to happen, especially if you're living a life full of schedules and, maybe you're traveling for work and doing all this other stuff. You're not thinking about your goals anymore. You're thinking about getting to the next week or the next day. And I think a lot of times people, like even going to the gym, people will get these gym memberships in January, and then it'll be one like, oh, I got this diet. Oh, dang, I ate a cheeseburger. I might as well go ahead and stop now. Then I done already messed it up. And I'm like, it's one cheeseburger. You can get back on track. So I just think we need to start being better at not only projecting things out to the future, like I said before, mapping out short-term goals to get to that goal, but knowing that there will be obstacles, like you ahead of time, obstacles are going to come. So now you can say, okay, when obstacle A or B happens, I still got to go back over here and rock these little, because when you make these little short goals, that obstacle isn't going against the big goal. It's only going against the little one. So you can pick up the little thing. Should not get in your way because it's small. So that's kind of where I want to land.
Hey, Massey.
Yeah.
Can you share about that realistic expectations?
That's where I was just about to go. Yeah. I think that we talked about this a little bit on the live this morning, or this afternoon rather, but I think that a lot of times our goals are just not realistic. And when I say not realistic, I don't mean that they're not achievable. I just mean that we've not put enough thought into them and enough, we not put enough time into them to say, this is something that not only I can do, but I actually want to do, right? You know, in my book, I talk about when you're looking for a certain type of guy or woman, you know, you have to understand that if you're looking for someone with a lot of resources, financial resources, then you have to understand that that person may not have a lot of time, because people who have a lot of financial resources usually have to work a lot in order to get those resources. If you're looking for someone who has a lot of time on their hands, unless they're independently wealthy, they're probably not going to have a lot of resources. So you have to really decide, what is it that I really want? And is it realistic for me, right? Is this something that is going to fit into my lifestyle and to what I truly desire? You know, using the whole going to the gym thing, you know, a long time ago, I used to do a little bodybuilding, you know, competitive bodybuilding. And when you look at how much discipline goes into getting prepared for a show and how you have to eat a certain way, I mean, to the point where I would get invited to barbecues and to functions, you know, with my friends, and I would bring my little chicken and rice in a little container, and I couldn't indulge, you know, with beer and nachos and all this stuff because I was on a very strict diet. And at some point I realized I'm doing all of this prep work for 10 minutes on stage, and I don't want to do this anymore. There's no value in it for me. The pictures are great, and that moment that I'm on stage is great, but all of the prep that goes into that singular event, it's not worth it. And so I had to change my goals. I had to change things around. It's okay. I don't want to be a competitive bodybuilder anymore. I just want to, you know, stay in shape. I just want to make it to the gym 3 times a week. Those became my goals. And so having a realistic approach to setting goals. Now, that doesn't mean you lower the standard of your goal. That doesn't mean you shoot for the stars. You just realize that from here to the stars is a long way. And so you're not going to make it there tomorrow. You know, this idea that I'm going to get rich quick. The richer you get quick, the quicker you'll go back to being poor. It needs to be sustainable over time. And, you know, if you're starting the year out saying, I want to get married this year, but there's no one in your life, is that realistic? And it's the difference between what is possible and what is probable. Is it possible? Absolutely. It is possible for you to meet somebody tomorrow, you date for a year, and December the 31st, y'all get married. It's very possible, but is it probable? The better goal would be, I would like to meet someone who I would marry this year. Now, if you exceed that goal, that's great, right? But that's a more attainable goal, and it's more realistic. We have to be realistic with our approach. And you know, I used to work for this company, an oil company, and one of their mission statements was to create wealth for our shareholders. And I just thought that was such a crude statement when I read it. I was like, that's what we're here for? To make money for the shareholders? That seems really weird. There's so many other things that we could be doing. But the reality was, that's why we were there. When you take away all of this stuff, all of the, you know, the corporate responsibility and all this other stuff, at the end of the day, if our shareholders aren't making money, then we're not being effective as a company. But a lot of times when we start looking at our goals, we want to wrap them in all of this fluff and all of this stuff to make it more palatable to other people. And that's a huge mistake. You know, if you have a goal, or if you set a goal for yourself, you don't need your goal to be co-signed by anyone but God. And the reality is that if it's in you, it was for you. I believe that with every single part of me. God knows the desires of your heart because he put them there. My wife wants to be a famous television producer, and she is well on her way to doing it. I have no desire to do that at all. None, not even a little bit, because that was not put in me. It was put in her. So our goals, the things, our desires, the things that live inside of us, they're there for a reason. So don't let anybody talk you out of what it is that you want to do. And like I told the young men at this vision statement party, or this vision board party, if your goals make sense to other people, you're not dreaming big enough. If someone can say, you know what, I can see you doing that, dream bigger. If you tell someone, I want to open a restaurant, and they say, I can see you opening a restaurant, then you need to think about opening two. You need to think about opening a chain. Dream big as possible. So again, it's the difference between what's realistic, what's attainable. And when I say realistic, I don't mean you lower it so that you can do it. I'm saying you make sure it's something that you want to do. Because the worst thing that can happen to you is for you to get blessed before you're ready for it. The worst thing. I'm not a big Steve Harvey fan, but I remember him telling this wonderful story that I think is very relevant in this moment. And he's telling the story of how he's telling his mother that he's going to buy a new car. Meanwhile, his old car that doesn't run is sitting in the driveway. And every day he's telling her, I'm going to buy a new car. And she's like, okay. But she, is not believing him, but still saying, all right, do what you got to do. And every day he's telling her, I'm going to do it. And at some point he asked her, why is it that when I tell you I'm going to buy a new car, it sounds like you don't believe me? And she told him, where are you going to put it? How are you going to buy a new car when you got the old car sitting in the driveway? So to me, you have to go into a season of preparation. And that, to me, what New Year's is all about. When you sit down and write out your goals, your resolutions for the year, you need to go into a season of preparation. If you're saying that I'm going to join a gym, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, I'm going to do whatever the case may be, but you have not researched gyms in your area, you don't have any workout clothes, you don't know, you don't know anything, because you're not preparing for what it is that you said you wanted. You got to make space for it. You got to make room for it. You got to start waking up a little earlier, even before you join the gym. Start working up at 5 o'clock just to get your body prepared for it. That way, when you do join the gym and you start on Monday, like everybody does, you're not abandoning it by Wednesday because you can't handle waking up early or staying late or whatever the case may be. So I think that's one of the reasons. So let me switch gears here for a real quick second. You can stay on that topic if you want, but I got another question for the group. Is it wise? So let's say we create a resolution for 2019 and we don't complete it. We do another resolution for 2020 and we don't complete it. By the time we get to 2022, should we abandon that goal? Or is it wise to put the goal back on the list for the new year? Anybody jump in there?
Well, it depends on the goal, How transformational is the goal? Was the goal just something that you intended for a year to kind of boost that year? Or is it a goal that you're looking to transform your life? Or is it a goal that might be something that needs to be taken in phases? So when you were talking about a realistic goal, I'm a recruiter by trade, but for a little while, I worked in the IT section as a functional. So I was basically telling them what recruiters needed out of our IT. And I worked for this commander, man. His favorite saying was, okay, so we got this ask. We have to extrapolate the data. We used to tease him all the time because he was always talking about extrapolating the data. But, in some cases, you need to extrapolate the goal, and figure it out. Like, it can be unrealistic if it's to own a restaurant and you can't cook. Or maybe you don't want a restaurant, you just like to cook. So go work in a restaurant and see that there's more to owning a restaurant than just cooking and enjoying food, So a lot of times it's just a matter of looking at how big the goal is. If my goal is in 2022, I want to be under 200 pounds and I don't make it going into 2023, I might say, that might not be feasible for me. Let's do some new goals. But if my goal is I want to move from 6 figures to 7 figures or 7 figures to 8 or 8 to 9, and I don't get it in a year, that might be a goal worth putting back on the list. So.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting question, because the way that I kind of look at things is, if I keep putting the same goal every year, let's say even if it's just 2 years back to back, I then have to look at how personal that goal is to me and how deeply I want to get to it, right? Because I think a lot of times I've even seen people co-opt other people's lists just to say they got one, or or do something because they think it's going to look good to everybody else. That's not coming from in here. It's the same way I feel about, when people figure out what their purpose is. It's like, if it's not coming from here, you're not going to follow through with it. And I also wanted to add that you have to allow yourself the room to make adjustments and adapt. And I think that's a little bit of what you were talking about too, Tony. It's like even in me in working in IT, like if they tell me something's broken and needs to be fixed, there may be a multitude of ways to get to the answer. So if way number one doesn't work, I just don't quit. I got to figure it out. I got to figure out another way to get there. And just to piggyback off of what John was saying, maybe you might not be the cook, but you end up being a manager or owning your own restaurant. There's nuances to get, because your goal is that you wanted to be in the food industry, let's say, somehow. And so you dove into saying, I'm going to cook. You got there, it didn't work out. And then you're like, you know what? Forget the food industry. No, you didn't look at all the different other avenues. You love the cooking industry. So there's nuance there, and we can't quit so fast. So we have to understand that there's a multitude of ways to get to what you want. It just may not look exactly the way you pictured it, but it will still fulfill you just as much once you get to the finish line. So I'm gonna just leave it there.
Man, I think oftentimes we desire the rewards so much. We desire the rewards, the gift, getting the thing we want so much, that we spend so little time with the responsibilities and the consistencies it takes to get there. So does the item go back on the list? That's the question. If that item reminds me of my inability to complete a task, I ain't putting it up there, because I don't need a reminder on what I'm not willing to do right now. But what I will do is fill my list with things that I am willing to be responsible for right now, and I'm willing to be consistent with. Because who's to say later on, once I've proven to myself that I'm consistent enough to accomplish goals, that I don't add that to the list later. But right now, if it keeps coming up on my list and it's not being taken care of, that's only weighing me down. That's making me feel like I cannot do. Why would I have a list of cannot do's right now? Doesn't mean that I don't have the ability to do it later. But why would I put up something on a list that reminds me of my inability to accomplish something? See, a lot of times, once again, we get so wrapped up in when will the reward come? Can it come quick? If I do X, Y, Z, and Z, Y, X, where's the outcome right now? I'm looking for the outcome. All right. And we get so caught up waiting for the reward to come, the compliment to come, the big ups to come, the likes to come. We're so wrapped up in that we forget that that's not our responsibility. The reward is not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to do X, Y, Z, Z, Y, X consistently, waking up with an intentional mindset to accomplish a particular thing. And what are you going to do every day? And when I say every day, that means what you're going to do from the night before to prepare you for the everyday, for the next day. You can't go into your next day not knowing what should be done and how to do it and how to lay it out. Commit to a particular time in the morning you want to wake up. And no matter what, you're going to wake up to that time and give yourself a schedule. Okay, after I wake up, I'm going to go have my celery juice in the morning. After I have my celery juice in the morning, I'm going to pray. After I pray, I'm going to start to work out little details on what I should post. What I should post after I finish post. All right, now how do I build that? See, you gotta have a plan so you could get excited about it. Because it's we guys, we build our mindset for victories built off of our past victories. You know, that's why we could relive our sports days. We could relive our sports days that took place when we were only 14, 15 years old, and we would talk about it as if it was just last year. Because we talk about our new victories coming to pass based off of our old victories. So we need to be intentional enough to give ourselves little victories every single day. I accomplished this. I'm getting closer to my goal. Yes, my goal is to do this at the end of it, to build a company that's reaching out and touching our lives and reshaping thinking. But unless I'm consistent and responsible with the little things, everyday little things, that's never going to come to pass. I'm never going to get fully excited or fully invested, or better yet, to lose the laziness that could be inside me that's not saying, you know, that's waiting for the rewards. And because I'm not getting rewards, I'm not going to be motivated to do it. Procrastination because I'm not getting the rewards. The rewards, leave that up to God. Your job is to be responsible and to be intentional with the time you have been given.
Amen.
Tony Watts.
Yeah, let's welcome my brother Tony Watts is in the building. I knew he wasn't gonna stay away. Not on this topic.
Yeah.
So the question we asked, the question that's on the floor right now, we're talking vision and goals and mission. And so the question was, if you had a goal that didn't come to fruition the year before, should it go back on the list or should it be omitted?
Great question. Amazing question. I think it depends on how important that goal is and what is the foundation of that goal and where it's going. We talked about that on Good Morning Wake Up. Monday Wake Up today, about what some things we do is we punish ourselves for not reaching our goals, and then we quit because we stumbled or like we had a bad week. Now I got to start all over again. Sometimes it's not start all over again. Pick it up where you stopped at. And I think this is why I like that question so much, because so many people fail at building what they need to build because they are so hard on themselves. They have such an intention to do something, or like Rick was talking about when I came in, they have that dream mindset that I want to do this. I'm going to start a business, but there are no details to get to the end result of the business. And any business you open, the result is opening the business. There's no end result unless it goes out of business. So your mindset is not just to create the business, it's to create the plan that continuously flows forward. So I think that's a great question for the audience and for us as well, is that we have to be very intentional about what we're doing, and we can't allow anything to stand in our way if that's what we want. And I might as well say this too. You have to self-evaluate yourself. Is that really what you want? Are you really capable of achieving that? And I'm not saying that from a standpoint of putting anyone down. I'm saying it from a standpoint of, have you studied what, let's say the t-shirt business. Have you studied the t-shirt business? Do you know what the different fabrics are? If I send you a t-shirt and it shrinks the next day, you're losing customers. Like, have you really studied what the business looks like? It's one thing to say, I'm going to open up a t-shirt business, and then it's another thing to go in to figure out the material is. We can all walk into Kmart and pick up 1,000 shirts and start sending them out, but is that going to create repeat business? And I think those are the things that we need to look at. But going back to your question, I think it's very important that we stay intentional. And if that vision is important to you, you have to continue on that road to do it. No matter if you stumble right now and have to pick it up 3 months from now, pick it up from where you stopped at and keep going. Don't continue to start over.
Go ahead.
Okay, can I add something to that? I think something that helps what Tony Watts is sharing is that what we have to do with the daily intentions is not only find ourselves doing things that we like to make a particular thing happen, we also need to find time in the daily to stretch ourselves, to do something that we don't often enjoy, or like say learn a language, or take on something that stretches your mind so you get into the habit of, it's okay if I'm stupid about something right now. It's okay if I'm dumb about something. It's okay that I don't know the answers to something. A lot of times we won't do something because we think we're not good at it because of whatever we have built up in our head that we should be good at something. And we only do things that we're good at. No, get in the habit of doing things that you're not familiar with. Stretch your mind. One of the things I remember hearing a story about a father raising his daughter, and he would constantly come to his daughter and say, what did you fail at today? What did you fail at today? What did you try to take on that you were no good at for today? Because if you fear failure, you're not going to dare. You're not going to dare to live. You're not going to try to do anything new. So you got to intentionally, as you work on these new goals for 2022, it's also set aside time for you to try things that you're not good at, that you want to get good at, but you're not good at. So get comfortable with not knowing the answer and not being good at something. And that shouldn't stop you from taking it on.
Yeah, one of my fatherisms I used to tell my son all the time is that ignorance is a temporary condition, but stupidity is a voluntary one. Because I believe that, being ignorant, there's a lot of things I'm ignorant about. But you can learn, you can go out and learn, and now you're no longer ignorant. But stupidity is being willfully ignorant. It's refusing to learn, especially when you need to know. You know what I mean? That's stupid, in my opinion. So I got another question. I had early in my career, when I got in the military and transitioned to corporate America, one of my responsibilities was as a technical writer, right? And I had the opportunity to work on the mission, vision, and values for my company. And I learned that a mission statement answers the question, why are we here? The vision statement answers the question, where are we going? Our values are, what are we willing and not willing to do to get there and do it. And then our goals are, what exactly is it? How are we going to systematically get to the mission, or accomplish the mission, get to the vision without compromising our values? So putting that in mind, the way this company worked, and I thought it was brilliant, and I still use this today, is you take the mission, vision, values, and goals of the company, and then you create, if you're at a director level, you create your goals, and then you give that to your managers, and they create their goals. And so everyone's goals, from the individual contributor all the way up to the CEO or president of the company, they're all based loosely on the mission, vision, values, and goals of the company, right? So we're all in alignment. Is there any value, in your opinion, and this for the audience too, should relationships have a mission statement, a vision, goals, values? Is there value in a couple, or even a friendship, or even what we're doing here? We sat down before we started this and decided what we wanted this thing to kind of look like, right? And I think that there's an advantage for doing that in times of peace, because it's really hard to do it when you're warring with each other. It's like, the Geneva Convention is a document signed by people who are allies. And what we're basically saying is, if we ever fight each other, here are the rules of engagement, right? And it makes sense to do that, because you can't, in the middle of a war, go, hey, I want to create some rules. Hell no. ain't no rules to this game, you know what I mean? So is there value in a couple, or any type of relationship, sitting down and saying, what is our vision? What is the vision for this relationship? What is the mission of this relationship? What are our combined values, and what are our goals? or does that push the love part or the emotional part? Being so corporate, does that push the emotion out of the relationship and make it too transactional? What say you?
Well, I would jump in real quick to say, I think this is one of the reasons why my marriage failed. There was no vision. There was no direction on where we're going. There was no value statement to it. So when you hit those hard bumps, like you said, when there's a mission in place, right? And a lot of, I've been listening to a lot of couples and people who are in successful relationships, and they'll put aside whatever's going on in their argument if it doesn't fit the mission statement of the couple. This is the vision of what we're doing. This is where we're going. Understand? So I'm mad that she didn't take out the garbage. So now the conversations it becomes is her not taking out the garbage more important than what the mission is for the family, right? And if it's not more important than that, then we can just put that to the side and keep it moving. And I think all relationships should have a mission statement or a value, a direction, a vision. Yeah, let's say that. All relationships should have a vision of what it should look like and where it's going.
Without vision, people perish. Without vision, people perish. What vision does, setting a vision, it just keeps it simple. It gives you something to do throughout the day or the week that is outside of the things that you're dealing with in your own personal journeys as individuals. See, if you don't have a mission, if you don't have a vision, you're doing what you do, they're doing what they do. And then when you get together in the dates, you're just kind of interacting. You're just interacting. With a vision, there has to be discussions. So, hey, what are we doing about this? Now, all our energy when we interact together, when we do our own separate things and we get together to discuss and make sure that, hey, what are we doing towards this? This has been done, reporting back. Hey, I took care of that. So we're getting closer to this. Hey, did you do that part? Yep, perfect. Thank you for reminding me. Hey, babe, did you not see that thing that you missed? Oh, I didn't see that. Let me go back and get that. That's where it's almost like teamwork, because there's a vision, there's a mission. You have other things to talk about to push you towards a particular goal instead of just coming home and just thinking about yourself and what you've been through throughout the day. Does that make sense? You're not simply just stewing in your own stuff as individuals. Even though you're together in your own stuff, a vision causes you to say, hey, are we on the same page with this? Look what I did. Look what you did. Oh, I forgot that. Hey, babe, thanks for pointing that out for me. That's what you need. It gives a conversation to your day outside of what you've been through in the given day.
Yeah, this one right here is something that to a certain extent, is something that I talk about a lot on my shows and coaching. And, with wisdom and knowledge and experience, I think that every couple should have this, like, mandatory. And I say that because we can talk about all of the emotional stuff and the love, but those of us who have been in long-term relationships or marriages know that does not sustain the relationship. The day-to-day stuff, the arguing, the resentment, and all of these other things. If you agree to, like Tony said, the rules of engagement, we know one day we probably gonna end up having an argument. This is the style of how I do things. You like to walk away and take 30 minutes. I know that now going in. So when you ask for the 30 minutes, it's not going to shock me and make me feel like you're walking away from. So it's these things that if, and it's not perfect, but at least you have something to kind of grab onto when you have those moments. And when you have these goals, the mission, the vision of the relationship, and you can come back, every so often and renegotiate the terms if you need to, but it still stands. And so why this is important is and I'll just talk about my marriage. These things are what we both submit to. When we talk about submission, we're submitting to the vision, the mission, and the goals. Everything else, the nuances of how a man and a woman operate, we do that just by human nature, right? But submitting, we submit to that. That way, nobody has to worry about who telling and obeying and doing that. We're not doing that. We're submitting to the vision. If we both submit to the vision, then we don't have to worry about all it. Like, yeah, I'm triggered. That submission word gets to me. But this is good because if you have those things, the foundation is what I used to call it before we started giving it all these nuances. If you have that foundational thing there, then you can always go back to it. You can always go back to it because I ain't running every aspect of everything, and I don't think I want to. Right? So we got to go back to. Some people do, but I don't. That's a lot of pressure. So we gotta really think about respecting each other and really sitting down and having these type of conversations and erecting these kind of things so that as we go through the ups and downs, we can always refer back. Remember, you promised. Remember these goals we set. It's not these emotional things that happen. Hold on. Before you go there, remember, we said we were not going to do this. You were going to give me my 30 minutes. And then at that point, if the person is like, forget the rules, then you got a whole other conversation. But you got to start somewhere. So I'm going to land there.
Let me hop in before fatherhood calls. But I love what New Breed Entertainment was saying. You know, it's not necessary per se, but absolutely helpful. And when you look at, you know, a mission statement, a vision statement, and your values, you can just kind of look at it like, let's say Derek and Alicia invite me over because I be seeing on their social, man, it'd be some cooking going on over there. So they invite me over so I can partake in some of this delicious food. When I set out, I don't know how to get there. So I'm going to use my GPS. And so where I'm going, that's my vision statement. The mission statement is going to be the specific streets, turns, and everything that I use to get there. And my values are going to be things like, I want to stay on highways as much as possible. I want to avoid toll roads. So when you talk about getting somewhere, whether it's relationships, whether it's endeavors, it is great to have a vision of where you're going. Then your mission statement that's going to provide you with the data points of how you're going to get to where your vision is taking you, and your values is saying, this is what I will do for a Klondike bar, and this is what I won't do for a Klondike bar. So I think it's a very valuable thing to use in multiple endeavors.
I love that analogy, John, because if you put that address in the GPS and you stick to the vision, you follow the mission, and you follow your values, even if you make a wrong turn, the GPS is going to say rerouting, and it'll put you back on your path, back on where you're going. The GPS doesn't say, turn left in 300 yards, you turn right. The GPS doesn't go, I guess you ain't want to go to Derek and them house to get some steak. It keeps you on your path. And I think that's so important. So let me ask this, let's say that you sit down and you do this exercise and you realize, you come to the awareness that our personal mission, vision, and values are so in conflict that we can't create a combined mission, vision, and value. Is that an indication that this relationship won't work? Or is that an indication that there needs to be some compromise or whatever the case may be? How does your personal vision, mission, and values and goals, how do they contribute, or should they contribute on what, and to what level, to what extent, to a relational mission, vision, value, and goals?
It depends on how you spent your time prior to getting married. what conversations were you having?
And I don't want to just keep, and that's a great point, but I don't want to keep this just on, marriage, but which is a primary relationship. Don't get me wrong, but in all relationships, I mean, even in our relationship, if one of us was like, I love Kevin Samuels and I feel like our platform should just duplicate his. Okay, I don't know if that's gonna work, bro.
But again, let's go back to the mission statement. We had conversations that no one man or one person has a rule over the team. So if the team votes and says no, we're not doing that, then that's what it is. We're not doing that. So because we sat down and put this mission together, we don't have to worry about Kevin Samuels being the topic that we're going to deal with, because we've already talked about the things that how we're going to handle and what we're going to do. And I think it's really important. And John again nailed it. The GPS thing is flawless. Like, because when you do get off course, and that's the times, like what Rick and Derek said, you sit down, you have those conversations. Like, wait, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is the mission. That's the rerouting period, and you have to be willing to reroute. And sometimes you can take a shortcut, right? As long as we're going to where we need to go, the GPS sometimes is off. So if I know I can go around this corner to get around that traffic, right? And I say, hey, babe, let's go around this corner right here. It's a quicker way because I've been over here before. The trust needs to be that we're still going in the same direction, so now we can use this new course. But we're staying on the mission to get to where we need to go. So that's pretty solid. I'll end there.
For myself, I think
it was just an analogy, John. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gunter, man. It was an inside joke.
Okay, done. I think part of it is that the shop talk guys here. We could all feel that we have a connection with each other. Either one other person in the group or the whole group connected to each other. Tony Mons and myself, he's the one who brought us all together by speaking, and that there's a connection there. But what made it work is that we have an alignment, that we're in alignment. That's why it works. It works because, yes, we all have our own separate platforms. We're all doing something and having an impact individually. But we thought as a community, building something that can not only hope to breathe a multitude of people leaning on each other to find strength, to be encouraged, to accomplish goals, then it's also the concept of what? Just being able to get new ideas from people, to lean into, like, oh, the Derek does it that way. I never thought about doing it that way. Hey, John does it that. Tony, what? Like, I have been made stronger. Iron sharpeneth iron because I have been in alignment with these dudes. It's not just simply we are connected. Oh, Tony Watts, my man, I grew up for high school and blah, blah, blah. And if anyone goes up against Tony Watts, now I'm against you because I'm against, you know what I'm saying? It was none of that. It was like we all had individual conversations, right? We all had individual conversations. Hear what? Tony Watts said to me, you could try to build your platform on your own, or you can join in and build a platform where all of us can utilize each other's platform to build a community. How am I not going to get involved with that? Plus, it's coming from Tony Watts. Yeah. It's more than a connection. It has to be an alignment for it to work. So even if we weren't in alignment, there's a buck, and then I wouldn't be a part of the Real Shop Talk. It'd be the four guys of the Real Shop Talk, and Gut to Man still has a show on Thursday night. That's the difference. Connection, people not marrying their connections, those are holding on to their connections, but finding people that you're in alignment with and rocking that way.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in real quick about the when you asked if the personal goals and missions didn't line up, when you're trying to, as far as even relationships or whatever. I think that it could be both, right? It could be something that makes you split, Or if they're different, there should be room for you to compromise and try to figure out how to make it work. Now there are, and that's the beauty of having a dialogue about where you want to go, because this then lets you know if you really need to be there. This is what I tell people all the time. Have the dialogue, ask the questions early on, so you know exactly what this person's values are, and do they fit? And if they don't fit perfectly, are they willing to work with you? If the answer is no, then you got to bounce. You have to, because it goes against everything you stand for. And you have to stand in that. And that's why, like, just to use us as an example, we're all different people. If we weren't able to kind of mold into each other, then it wouldn't work. If I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. Mondays don't work for me. All of y'all are going to be on here Monday. I'm just not going to show up. Well, guess what? Derek don't need to be a part of the show then. Like, we have to understand that there's an opportunity for someone to say, this doesn't match. Still love you, bro. I'm gonna still support you, but we can't build something together. But on the opposite side of it, if we both had the same vision and the same, where we wanted to go was similar, we should be able to kind of work together and make it work. Even if it was it's somebody, that was in a long-term relationship contemplating marriage. If you're not willing to kind of work and mold with the goals and the vision, what am I doing here? We have to be able to stand on that. So I'm gonna land there. John said we should choose Tuesday.
Derek, I like what you just said. It's important because people think that because you're not on the same path with your vision, that I can't be your friend. I can support you. I can still love you. I can still go hard for what you're trying to do. But we don't fit together as a piece, as a unit, right? So, and that's part of that's the reason why this whole village thing is so important to me, because we have to get out of the mindset, because I don't think like you, because I don't move like you, does not mean I don't have to support you, right? As long as you're not doing something that disturbs my core values as a man, as a human being, then I should be able to support what you're doing. There's money out here for everybody. There's a space out here for everybody. I should be able to support you in that space. And until we really understand that within our communities, right? And I'm gonna say this out loud: the Chinese food stores start disappearing. The Italian food shops will start disappearing, and our businesses will grow better, because I fully believe if you come into my community and you take your money to your community, you do not support my community. You're a leech to my community, right? We can cook Chinese food. We can cook Italian food. We can cook the food that we need. We just need to get to a point where we're supporting each other to get to the level and respect that we give all these other people and all these other things, right? So that's part of the whole village mentality for me, because I've seen it too much. People come into community and they drive in all these nice cars, and their kids go to a private school somewhere else, and they're eating off our backs, and we're struggling to get somewhere. We don't have to do that. We can come together, and Rick wants to open up a dance studio. I got 4 left feet. I can still support him. I can still send people to him. But we have to start doing that. We have to support ourselves. I'm gonna land right there.
There's a concept that Desmond Tutu talked about about Ubuntu, I think it's called. And the idea was that this reporter went to an African village and put a basket of fruit near a tree and told the kids, these little village children, whoever runs over and gets the fruit first, you can have all of the fruit. And they all looked at each other and held hands and ran towards the basket, or walked towards the basket together. And then, of course, they all enjoyed the fruit. And when he asked, why would you share the fruit when one of you could have had it on your own? And the response was, how can we be happy when one of us is sad? And that's the concept of Ubuntu. And so I agree with you. When you come into my neighborhood, and the thing about it is that every other community does this. I mean, I grew up in Houston, Texas, and we have a Chinatown. I just left Chicago. There's a Chinatown in Chicago where the streets are in Mandarin, right? To accommodate the people who live there. But they support one another, and they've built a power structure, so much so that the city has to create street signs in Mandarin. That's a lot of political power, right? And then you go to my neighborhood I grew up in, and you have dilapidated homes and things like that. And it's just we don't have a sense of community, but we also don't have a combined mission. We don't have a combined vision that all of us can share, because we have this mindset that I got to give up something, right? And the reality is that I don't have to be in your community to be in community with you. We ain't got to be neighbors in order for me to act neighborly towards you, right? But we tend to forget, and even with relationships, I'm very leery. Not now because I'm happily married, but when I was dating, I've always been very leery of someone who didn't have anything good to say about their ex. Because even if this person put you through hell, one, you stayed, two, you chose them, right? And so there has to be some redeeming qualities that cause you to stay in this relationship longer than a date or two, right? And I'm not saying you have to have a glowing review of this person, but it just makes me feel like, okay, you're not in community with the concept that, I contributed to this. The other thing I wanted to say is that, I firmly believe, I like what Derek said, it can be a relationship killer, but it doesn't have to be. But it does come down to what Lolita said, and I'll put it up here. You can't live your truth if you're compromising your core values. And if that happens, then any relationship is destined to fail. I agree with this 100%. And I have a really quick story. I dated a young woman who I really liked. This is way before I met my wife. And we clicked on all levels. Everything was great. And then we started having conversations about children. Now, at the time, Jordan was 21 in college. I was very satisfied to not bring any more kids in the world. I had no desire to start all over again. I was done. Well, she was adamant that she wanted more kids. And what I realized was, if I compromised on this, if I said, okay, I'll have another child so that you can be happy and we can stay together, that would have been a point of contention, because I don't want to be the father of a baby right now, not at this point in my life. And it would have eventually torn us apart. And even worse, this poor child would have suffered because I compromised my core values. Now, does that make me a bad person? No. It just means that I know what I want and I know what I don't want. I know what my values are. But we have so many people out there entering into personal and business relationships with people, not properly vetting them, not doing that fact finding that Gunner Man talks about, thinking that everything will just work out. We got to be intentional. We have to be intentional about what we want and what we don't want. And this is why these conversations about gender roles and who eats first and all this other crap and masculine energy and feminine, none of that has any real bearing when you're in it. My wife and I have never had a conversation about feminine, masculine energy. I've never said you are in your masculine energy right now, Saya. I've never had that conversation with her. We've never discussed whose responsibility is to cook or take out the trash, or we just do what needs to be done because, like Derek said, we both have submitted to something that we've decided is bigger than us, and that's our marriage. That's who it is, God, and then our marriage, and then our individual needs. And so we compromise so that the marriage can survive. But we had the conversation about what we were willing to compromise on before we entered into the marriage, so that we didn't find ourselves giving up something for the marriage that we're not willing to give up. And that to me is when you have that conversation. I'm willing to give up anything for my marriage because I've already made it very clear what I'm not going to give up for my marriage, right? So anything within the anything outside of the 7 things that I said are non-negotiable, everything else is free game. Do what you got to do. I'm down like 4 flat tires, but just don't. Here's my list. Don't come ask me for anything on this list because it's not going to happen. But you already knew that before you came into this relationship. And I think when you start setting goals, especially New Year's goals, you got to have that conversation. You can't say, I want to lose 25 pounds, but I'm not going to nobody's gym. I want to lose 25 pounds, but I ain't giving up fried chicken. And that's fine. You don't have to give up you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But don't think that your wants are going to supersede your won'ts. Not going to happen. If you decided I won't do it, then you don't want it. It's as simple as that. I used to tell my son that all the time. You don't want it. You don't have to go to practice. Hell, you don't have to go to school. But understand that when you need something, I'm going to remind you of your wants when you start bringing me your wants. You want some new shoes? Well, you won't get your behind up and go to school on time. So that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And so it becomes this very cause and effect type situation. And I think when this is where personal responsibility comes into play. And I get so angry about this idea that women don't take accountability. Everyone takes accountability for that which they are accountable for. You can either verbalize accountability or you can live in it. Either way, you're going to take accountability for that which you're accountable for. I don't care what anyone said. You spend all your money, you won't have any money. That's accountability. Now, you can ask somebody to save you, and somebody could. That doesn't mean you're avoiding accountability. You still have to ask somebody to save you, right? What I love about the 5 men on this panel, including myself, is that one, we don't submit to this idea that everyone has a specific role that has to be played and we cannot switch it up. All of us have decided there's no one man above the crew. So there's no leader here. We're all leaders because we're all willing to step up whenever there's a need to lead. The other thing is that we've checked our egos at the door. We don't need our names to be in lights because we've submitted to the Real Shop Talk banner. So when you see us lined out or when you see us on the screen, the only reason that I'm first is because I'm hosting tonight. And it's just easy. That's just the way it popped up. But that doesn't make most of the time Derek is first, right? But that's not important to us because we're not here for ego. We're not here for us. We're here for the mission. We're here for the Real Shop Talk. We're here for the vision that we all have and the goals that we have that are aligned with one another. Does that mean we'll always agree? No. There's a lot of times we disagree. There's a lot of times we just, we can't. There's a lot of times we can't come to a decision because we disagree. But what we are not going to do is allow the superficial, mundane details to derail us from what we've collectively decided is important. And like Derek said, if one of us stepped up and said, I'm not going to do this, then the rest of us will say, well, we don't believe that you're necessarily cut out for this. We still love you. We're still in community with you, but you just don't need to be a part of this community because otherwise you become toxic. And that's where that toxicity comes from. Instead of focusing on behavior, let's start asking why. Why is it that this one person does this? Why is it that, you start asking that question and then you start to get a better understanding and then you can help that person set goals. And when you do, and again, I don't have to be in your community to be in community with you. The old folks used to say it perfectly. I'm going to pray for you, baby. And to me, what that means is get away from me. But I'm not going to abandon my responsibility to you as another human being and ask God to intercede on your behalf. I'll land there.
You can't all be quiet.
Oh, so
my thing is that so how do we close this out? Like, do we give pointers on what we think helps? people sustain their goals? Like where do we go with this?
So I think this is just my 32 cents. I think that we kind of mentioned some of the nuances of kind of how people need to plan stuff, but I think what's best served going into 2022 is that Tony Watts takes the stage and lets us know again what his vision has been from the inception of this and where in the mission of where the Real Shop Talk goes in the future, and we are here along to support that. So I know we're a team, but this definitely is your baby. We just helping it grow.
Come on, General. Talk to us.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. The vision has always been to find young men who have a similar vision of mine as building their platforms, and we're doing things that I liked, right? So when I was sitting down thinking about it, I was like, to build the community, you can't do it on your own, Tony. You need a community to build it with. So John doesn't know this, but when John and I had our first conversation, right, and some things happened, and John did something very special for me within that first conversation, and I was like, "Whoa, this is what we need. We need a team of like-minded, caring, passionate individuals who care about the people that they're dealing with to build this community." So then I reached out to Tony Massey, and I was like, "Yo, I'm thinking about doing this, that, and the third. What do you think?" He said, "I'm on board." I said, "Okay. Who else do you think we can be down?" He said, I want Derek Jones." And I said, "Okay," because Derek was on another panel with me. John was automatic because of what John did. I was a little skeptical about Rick because I know Rick is a crazy busy with his schedule and being an MC. So that's what when Rick told you guys we had the discussion. I know what you're trying to do, but we can do it better together. And the reason why I did all of this was I'm sick and tired of the narrative that Black men and Black women cannot get along. That narrative is false. And that's the first thing that's destroying our communities, is pulling us apart, right? So if I got 4 seasoned men with myself and had a conversation about why these things are wrong, and then people will be able to see why they're wrong, and then we can start talking to young men and young women about what's wrong and what's going wrong, and how to reevaluate their whole mind process, to listen to the people with a million plus things telling women that they need to do this, that, and the other, telling men you're not high value because you don't make this amount of money. Like, that is really putting a lot of men in bad places. I'm hearing conversations now that I really want to get involved in, with young men talking really left field. Like, you sound like a tape recorder regurgitating stuff that does not work. I have seasoned men on this panel that have lived it. Every man on this panel have lived it. They even lived the part that people are saying where we thought women should do this, that, and the other. Tony Massey has said it 1,000 times. His wife has shown him things, because Tony Massey's in terms a man's man, right? He wants to lead, he wants to provide, he wants to do all of this stuff. And he had a situation in his life where he couldn't, and his wife took over. And he realized that this is not where I stand. My stance is together. We're a mirror image of each other. And we have to do that in community. I had a conversation with and I do this a lot now. One of the blessings of my current job, and it's the most humbling job I've ever had in my life, but it's a blessing because I'm learning again the value of people, right? I'm taking off the blinders of, they live over there, they should do this. No, our community can only be strong once we become united. And that's why Erica is part of this. Erica and Gator, Village. Tashira, Village. Love Tucker, Village. We are now building out the village, but I had to put the core team in, the foundation, to begin building that. And you'll see us all on each other's platforms. We promote each other's work. We support each other in every way possible. You showed us last week. We asked what we were reading. All four of us pulled up Love Tucker's book and put it and said, "Hey, this is what I'm reading right now," because it's so important. I had an opportunity. I reached out to Tony Massey. Hey, there's an opportunity for you. Before we even started this, I said, "Here's an opportunity for you." It was a great opportunity. Chavez, I called Chavez the other day. Here's an opportunity for you. I could have said, no, give it to me. Let me do it. No, that's not what it's about. It's about bringing these people together. Once the Black people are united the way we need to be, it's game over. Game over. All right? So when you see this team together, and my vision, we haven't even scratched the surface yet. We haven't even scratched the surface of what we can do and where we're going. And again, I'm gonna circle back to Derek Jones and John. If you're not following both of their podcasts, you are missing out. Incredible work. Derek does relationships on a whole different level that sometimes I have to sit back and go, let me watch that again, because how the hell did he come up with that analogy to make it land so perfect? And then John is so smooth with it. Like, John plays here, but you listen to John when he speaks. John knows what he's doing. Like, I'm not going to get into John's background and what he's been through and what he does. Like, he's a man's man, but he's humble enough to understand where he belongs, where he fits in. Like, he didn't come in and go, well, since I've been a leader for the last 25 years, I'm going to lead the team. No, he came in and said, how do I serve? How do I serve? Rick, how do I serve? Each man on this panel is how do I serve, right? We use that redundant term, servant leader. No, you're a servant. Everybody that's a servant is a leader, because you are teaching people how to maneuver in the world with compassion and love to grow a community. And right now, we are so divided in spaces because there's no community between Black women and Black men. There's no community there because everybody's looking to point the finger at somebody else. We're saying we're putting our fingers down. We're going to pick up a hammer and nail. I'm going to pick up the one leg of the table. Somebody else is going to pick up another leg of the table. We're going to come to build this table together. So I'm going to land right there because I can do this all day. I'm passionate about that.
And on that note, I think this is a good time to land. See, Derek Jones is a damn genius. That brother is, you got to have an engineer on your team because he knows how to put, he knows how to Pythagorean theorem the show so that it's perfect. This is a great show, guys. As always, we encourage you, sit down if you haven't already, write out your goals for the year. Write out your vision, your mission. Remember your values. Your values are what you will not compromise on, the things that you refuse to, like John said, what you will and what you won't do for a Klondike bar. Do it for yourself. Do it for your relationship. Sit down with your kids and do it. Again, what brought us here were these young men, these young kings right here who shared a dynamic moment, because they each got a chance to talk about what their vision was. And then each one of them, the beauty of it is that the key to your success, you don't have in your pocket. Somebody else does. Write the vision, make it plain, so he that reads it can run with it. So the he that reads it is in your village right now. They're either on this stage, they're in the chat, they're going to watch it on the replay. The person that you're waiting for, God is going to raise up someone to use their time, their treasure, their resources to help you to bring to fruition what he's put inside of you. But he can only do that if you use your mouth. Remember, it starts here. It comes here, but then it's manifested through the mouth, through the hands, through the work of your hands. So on behalf of the men of Shop Talk, we encourage you to use this exercise because it works. Write the vision and make it plain. Make sure that you have something guiding you for the next 360 something days, and don't let anything deter you. So let's go around the room. Speaking of vision, so brothers, if you have anything going on in the next week, let the people know, and then we'll bring it to an end.
All right, real quick, and please don't beat yourself up if you stumble. Please don't beat yourself up if you stumble. You're human. You're supposed to stumble. Rick said it best. You're learning. This is a new. If you knew everything about the business you were going into, you wouldn't have to study for it. You got to continue to study, continue to learn. And if you think you know everything about the business you're going into, you're going to fail because it's supposed to be organic and continue to grow. So don't beat yourself up if you stumble and fall. I'm gonna land right there.
Well, y'all go to relationship. I'm sorry, not relationship. TheRealShopTalk.net to get my profile there, because I want to use my time plugging my show to make this point. The other thing that I look at with the story you told about the gentleman is that you had one guy that did a vision board the year before.
That's right.
And how that one affects many, and that in the power of one. And in this case, my power of one now integrates with the power of five, which then affects many more. And so we have to really understand when we talk about community, you don't have to always join something big when you can create something small that can grow exponentially with just your one. You model the behavior and you connect with one person, and that one becomes 4, and that 4 becomes 8. But if you don't start, if you're waiting for someone else, then we're going to keep spinning our wheels. And so that's another impactful thing that I noticed when I saw that picture, is that one model affected all these other gentlemen, and that's going to last with them for the rest of their lives. Just that one. This is just 1 year, but they're going to remember that. So I'm going to land there.
For myself, remember that your day 1 is not going to look like your day 30 or your day 60 or your day 80. When you start off, you're going to go through the bumps and bruises of figuring things out, find a good rhythm, what works, what doesn't work. Don't expect your day 1 to look like your day 1 year later. Understand that once you start doing it, like Derek Jones said, start doing it. And in the midst of start doing it, you start to find your rhythm and find what the nuances that works for you, and have a discussion. Remember, always have a discussion. Glean from other people. Find your people. Talk to your people. Glean from them. Get perspectives. Find out what they're good at. Find out be brave enough to say what you're not good at. Get information. Learn how to do. This is what we're all doing. Every single one of us are doing it. And then, of course, every single day, give yourself a group of things to do that allows you to get closer to your goal. Remember, focus on that one brick. Focus on that one brick, laying that brick perfectly. Don't worry about the wall, just the brick. Pour your energy into placing that brick exactly, precisely brick, then move to the next brick. And then you'll find that the wall will appear. Just keep building a brick. Also, another thing, you can rate yourself at the end of the day. Take a moment out and rate yourself. How was your performance towards the things that you were going after for that day? Was your energy high? Did you miss the mark? Talk to yourself. Let yourself know that, hey, I did a good job there. That was a really good day for me. That was a good 5. That was a 5 day. Oh, no, not 3. That was a kind of 3 day. What should I do more? What should I do better? Where did I fall short? And you start critiquing these little things and become masterful at knowing how to make everything come together. But it's brick by brick.
Yeah, my turn. Okay. Let me try to wrap this up real quick. But when we're talking about new year, new vision, new mission, I want to really encourage y'all to really operate in your purpose. And you can't discover your purpose sitting on your couch, binge watching your favorite shows. You got to get active. You got to be moving. You got to be doing things. I hear a lot of people say, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm passionate about. Well, if you go out there and get active and start doing some things and experience some things, it'll become really evident and obvious what your passion and your purpose is. So figure out purpose. And then once you get purpose, you got 3 things to do. The first would be, you need to really understand the conversations you're having with yourself. A lot of us say, oh, I hope this happens. I wish it happens. That's passive language. Your mind cannot, your subconscious can't comprehend passive language. So if I told the fellas wave, we'd all do something like this. That's what a wave would look like. But if I told them, hey, hope, what does hope look like? So it's passive. Your mind does not know what your hopes or your wishes are. It knows what you say, what I want to do. So understand how you talk to yourself. Have positive conversations with yourself, not negative conversations. Don't talk about what you can't do, but continue to talk about what you can do, what you will do, and compliment yourself on the things that you're good at. But the second thing is, who do you surround yourself with? When you surround yourself with the right people, says if you get around 5 people that are making a certain amount of money, you'll be the 6th. So make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people. And then finally, you've got to believe in yourself. We talked about reasonable goals, but the one thing I love that Tony Massey did, he said, don't let somebody else tell you what reasonable is for you. Make sure you know what your goals are. Listen, a lot of us are afraid of the dark, but I'm telling you, the dark is where you really grow. Google the Chinese bamboo plant. For 4 years, you are watering it. You're tending to it, and nothing is happening. But after the 4th year, in the matter of a couple of weeks, the Chinese bamboo plant sprouts up to be over 90 feet. So the question is, did the Chinese bamboo plant grow in a couple of weeks, or did it take over 4 years? We know what the answer is, but it had to grow and manifest and strengthen itself in the darkness before it could come out into the light. So don't be afraid of your dark times, because that's where you're growing. That's where you've got the power and the strength to deal with the intention and the pressure that comes with being out in the light. So don't show disdain for your dark times. You're growing, and something great is being manifested inside of you. So embrace it and make this the best year of your life, man. We didn't come on here on January 3rd to play with y'all. Get real. Let's do it.
Damn, I want to go manifest something, boy. That was amazing, man. I hate going last. That should have been the last word. I just want to say, get yourself an accountability partner. You have to be accountable to someone other than yourself. And then the last thing I'll say is create big goals, but celebrate small victories. Maybe you haven't lost 10 pounds yet, but you got up every morning and you went to the gym. Maybe you didn't make it to the gym every day, but you ate healthy 3 days out of the 5 days. Celebrate small victories because it keeps you focused on the long term. Just like Gunner Man said, brick by brick. I love that. I love that analogy because, in corporate America, there's this story that this guy wrote about how to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. And sometimes we get overwhelmed by the enormity of what we're trying to do. When the reality is that you got to take that first step. And after that first step, every step gets a little bit easier. It doesn't get easier. It just gets easier to take because you've already done it. And periodically look back. Sometimes we have to take appreciation for how far we've come instead of focusing on how far it is that we have to go. Sometimes some of the greatest victories in life are through evaluating what we've already accomplished, what we've already done, as opposed to constantly looking forward. Now, when you look back, glance. Don't get too focused on what's behind you, because that's the easiest way to trip over your future is by focusing too much on your past. So make sure that you take a quick glance and go, okay, I'm come this far. I can go further. And we want you to go further with us. We have a amazing year planned. I'm telling you, we sat down together. We mapped out the year. We have some incredible shows coming up. Please, 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 if you're enjoying the Real Shop Talk, spread the word. The way the algorithms work is the more people who watch, the more opportunity we have to get people to watch. So share this show with everyone that you know. Tell them all about the Real Shop Talk. 8 p.m. every Monday night. We will be here. Unless there's a holiday or something crazy like that, somebody's going to be here. We thank you so much for rocking with us for 2022. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
For those who cannot find an accountability partner, because we're building the village, DM us at the Real Shop Talk on IG. If one of us can't be your accountability partner, we'll find somebody to partner you up with.
Absolutely.
That's what we're about. All right. Thanks.
Absolutely. All right. So that's it, y'all. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Same time, same space. Make sure that you bring a couple of people with you. It's going to be a dynamic show. If you just joined us late, then make sure you check us out on the repeat. On the replay. Start the show back over and watch it from the very beginning. Any save rounds, gents? All right. With the Real Shop Talk, we're out.